I think good day again, everyone. So now we'll be discussing the second topic of our lessons, which is uh, okay. So today we'll be discussing about file structure, keywords, identifiers, literals, variables, and data types, variables, and declaration initialization. So yeah. So okay. So medyo okay, so can we now proceed with the lecture? So this time around, we will be discussing how or the different structures on how you create your programs in Java. Okay, so you have to listen carefully so that you will not get lost when it comes to creating your Java programs. Okay, so you have here your example for your Java source file structure. Ibig sabihin, if you're going to create a Java program, ito yung una ninyo makikita. Or for example, ito yung makikita ninyo. Okay? So that is an example of a hello world or a simple print Java program. Okay? So as you can see, medyo mahaba na siya kaagad. Okay? So actually, we have here first, you have your declaration, package declaration. Okay, so it is used to organize collections of classes. So actually here, mapapansin niyo, the package is already automatic when you're going to create a Java program, nakalagay na kagad yung package. Okay? The only thing that you have to write is yung mga import. Okay? So, you're already familiar with imports pagdating kay C++, di ba? C++, nag-i-import din tayo ng mga libraries. The same with Java. Okay? In Java, if you wanted to use specific functions, you have to also import the library where that function is assigned. For example, here, as you can see on the sample code, we try to import the utility or the Java utility. So to import the utility, you just write the keyword import followed by the Java and then what library you want to access. Now the asterisk dyan, as you can see, it's java.util.asterisk. Asterisk means all. Okay. Also, the same with C++, every line of code ends with a semicolon. Claro? Okay. So, yan. So, as sabi ko kanina, you have your import statement used to reference classes and declarations of other packages. Yan. And then you have your class declaration. So, you have here classes later on in I want you to be familiar with classes. Classes is one of the most common common thing in object oriented. Okay, so dito I will just do what class is, and then later on when we go through object oriented lectures na, you fully understand bakit gumagamit tayo ng mga classes sa mga codes natin with Java. Okay, so you have here your public class. Now, in Java, it is required that you need to have a public class. Okay, every program should have a public class. Okay, kasi take note, there are different in Java you can create multiple classes. Okay, but one should be a public class. Okay, inside the public class you can have your different methods na. Okay, so inside the public class, as you can see, mag-iwan tayong public static void main string args. Okay, so actually this is called a method. Okay, so this is a method under public class. So a class can have a different methods. So for here, as you can see, the method for on public class Java main, it has a method called main. Okay? So yan. So inside the main, inside the methods, that is where you're going to write your codes or kung ano yung gusto ninyo or your statements, kumbaga kung ano yung gusto niyo ipagawa. Okay? For example, here kay main, ang ginawa niya is nag-print siya ng message. So in C++, if you want to print something, C++, sorry, in Java, if you want to print something, we use system dot system.out.println. LN stands for line. So system.out.println. Okay? So instead of cout, we use system.out.println. And then it's just the same with C++, open and close. And then if you're going to use a string, you have to place it inside the double quote. Okay? And always it ends with a semicolon. Okay? So also, as you can see below, we could also create an extra class just to show that in Java, we can create we can create multiple classes. Walang problema yan. Okay? As long as there should always be one public class. Public class, isa lang. Pwede magkaroon ng madaming classes but only one public class. Okay? May tanong ba? Nagets ba to sa structure natin or dito pala nahilo na tayo?
Sir, question lang, sir.
Yes.
About yung packages, sir, pwede ba siya i-alter ng user or parang permanent na siya pag binigay na siya ng system?
Automatic siya kasi package, dito kasi manggagaling is yung ano to, kung ano yung nilagay nyo na file name niya. Kasi in Java, madami siyang file na gagawin. And lahat ng mga files na yun, ilalagay niya sa isang package lang. Okay? Kaya ngayon nandito. Kaya yan sa package, ilalagay niya, if you're going to import something, ilalagay niya sa package na yun para pag iraran niya, madali niyang mahanap. So, this package here is actually generated na by Java. So, hindi niyo na kailangan palitan. You don't have to write this one. This is already written or created by Java automatic if you're going to create a file. Okay? So usually, if you're going to create a file, meron na rin siyang public class, meron ng public class diretso, and meron na rin tayo yung public static void main. That is already given na. Okay? So later on, if pupunta tayo sa sa lab, I'll show you how to create. Makikita nyo automatic upon creating a file, what are the things that are going to be automatically generated by Java for you. Okay? So, di nyo ita-type lahat yan. It depends on the IDE na ginagamit kayo. There are some IDEs na kailangan mong i-type lahat, pero with the ginagamit natin, the NetBeans, most of the codes na kailangan will be generated automatically. Klaro ba yun?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sige. Question so far? Meron pa ba ibang tanong? May tanong ba tayo dyan? Wala? Okay, sige. Let's move on. Okay. So here, also, we have comments. So you're familiar with comments, diba? Actually, the comments in C++ and Java is not really that different, okay? As you can see, you have your double backslash for one single comment. And then for multi-block comment, you have your slash asterisk, and then close it with asterisk slash. Okay, so as you can see, here's some simple example on how to write comments. So I think I don't have to I no longer have to explain why it is important to have comments on your codes. Okay, so I think that is already been discussed to you on your programming classes. Okay, so next you have white spaces. So white spaces, ibig sabihin tabs, spaces are ignored by compiler. So it doesn't matter how many tabs, spaces or tabs, indentions you write on your code, those will be disregarded by the compiler once kinocompile niya or kinocompile niya na yung program na ginawa ninyo. Okay? So, next. Dito tayo, balik tayo ulit kay source code natin. So ito, class. So what is a class? Okay? So every Java program includes at least one class definition. Okay? You can have many, basta always dapat merong isa. A class is the fundamental component of all Java program. Okay? Kaya siya naging object-oriented is because of the classes na to. Okay? So you have to be familiar with classes. Okay, so fundamental, ibig sabihin kailangan parati. So, a class definition contains all the variables and methods that make the program work. Okay, so again, sabi ko kanina, a class can have a method or a variable inside. Okay, so kumbaga, if class is to put it this way, no, para mas klaro, if class is going to be an object, let's say a class is a person, the methods is going to be what are the things that a person can do. Ano yung mga functionalities ng isang person? That is a method. For example, if class is a person, then methods going to be walk, talk, hear, eat. Those are the methods niya. Ano yung mga kayang gawin ng class na yan? Those are methods. Variables are the characteristic of a class. So ibig sabihin, if again, class is a person, variable would be tall, maputi, maganda, guwapo, long hair. Those are variables. Okay? Variables are characteristics. Methods are yung mga functions or functions na kayang gawin ng isang class. Klaro tayo doon? So this is obtained in by class body indicated by opening and closing braces. So again, you can create a class by using the word or the keyword class and then followed by the class name. Okay, so for example, here we have yung extra. So as you can see, we use the keyword class followed by the name or the class name extra and then always open and close. Okay, so also same with the Java main, you have public class, Java main, and then open close. Okay. So next you have braces. So I think you're already familiar with braces. So braces are used in grouping statement or block of code. So the left brace indicates beginning, right brace means closing. So left brace also indicates the beginning of a method body. So ito, if you're going to write a method, if you're going to write a method, also gumagamit tayo ng mga braces sa mga method natin. For example, as you can see dito sa public static void main method. So as you can see, gumamit din tayo ng mga braces sa kanya. Okay? So you don't just use braces on class. Ginagamit din natin siya sa methods, if else, arrays, etc. Okay? Same lang yung functionality ni braces. Main method. Okay, so So we already discussed class. Now, how about main method? What is the importance of having a main method? So this line begins the main method. This one. Yan yung main method natin. Okay? So this is the line which the program will begin executing. So, ibig sabihin, aside from how you need to have one class, you also need to have a main method, one main method, because it is where, when you're going to run your program, it is where it will start executing. Okay, doon siya mag-start magbabasa sa main ninyo. If you're not going to place any main method on any class na meron, so hindi alam ngayon ng compiler kung saan siya magsisimula. Okay, that is why you need to have a main method. Okay? Yun yung importance niya. Kaya nga, if you're going to create a file in Java, the public class or one public class is automatically generated, and then inside that class, there is already a public static void main. Para doon na nilalagay ngayon. Okay? So, hindi nyo nagagawin yun. But, you need to know para saan siya ginagamit. So, later on, if na-encounter ninyo you use an IDE na kailangan nyong i-type lahat, you know kung saan you are familiar kung ano yung gagawin ninyo. A good practice for this is try writing Java codes on Notepad. Okay? Sa Notepad ninyo gagawin siya. And then to see if tama ba yung nilagay ninyo. Kasi there are some students who are dependent enough sa mga IDEs. Kasi nga, binibigay na lahat sa kanila. Start na sila kaagad. Kaya if the IDE does not work, then nagkakaroon na sila ng problema on how to write yung mga generated codes na ginagawa ng IDE para sa kanila. Okay? So you also have string args. Okay, so string args means string arguments. So declares a parameter named args, which is an array string. It represents command line arguments. So this later on na natin i-declare kung para saan yung mga parameters. Okay, sa object-oriented din yung papasok. So wag niyo na muna pansinin yung string args. Later on natin i-discuss yan pag nasa OOP na tayo. What you need to understand here is having class and a method, or the public class and the main method. Okay, your Java program will not work if you don't have a public class and a main method. Yun yung importante. Klaro? Gets ba natin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here you have your Java statement. Okay, I think you're familiar already with what are programming statements. So these are the things that you want the program to do when you access them. So yeah, so for example, you have here for your statement, we print welcome to Java. Okay, this is a print statement. So a Java statement is a complete unit of work in a Java program. A statement is always terminated with a semicolon and may span multiple lines in your source code. Yan. Then you have for the print, you have your system line out system that out the print line. So this line output strings welcome to the Java. Yan. So later on, I also be discussing to you how to use yung input naman. Okay? So next you have your keywords naman. Okay? So these are the sample Java keywords na meron tayo. Okay? So as you can see, ano yung common sa kanilang lahat for Java keywords, all keywords start with a lower case. Okay? Lower case. Now, try to take note, Java is actually case sensitive. So magkaiba ang capital letter sa small letter. Okay? So that is why later on, if you want to create mga identifiers, mga variables and identifiers are usually what we do is we capitalize the first letter to avoid conflict. To avoid conflict of Java identifying it as a keyword. Okay? So yun yung ginagawa natin. So for example, ng mga keywords na meron tayo, same, default, assert, boolean. I will not longer discuss ano yung ginagawa ng mga ng mga keywords na to. It's up to you to research, understand para saan sila ginagamit. Okay? So next, you have identifiers. So identifier is the name given by a programmer to a variable, statement, label, method, class, or interface. Kumbaga, identifiers are the name na binibigay natin from the word identify. Okay? So identifiers must begin with a letter, a dollar sign, or an underscore. Okay? That is the only, yun lang. Okay? Yung tatlo lang. It must begin with a letter, dollar, underscore. Aside from that, hindi pwede mga iba. Subsequent letters or the following next letters, you can have letters, numbers, dollar sign, or asterisk. So yun lang din. Special characters na pwede lang natin gamitin is dollar sign and underscore. So identifiers must not be a Java keyword, syempre. And identifiers are case sensitive. Ito yung nasasabi ko kanina. So small letters and big letters are different. Magkaiba sila. So here we have some samples for incorrect and correct identifier naming. Okay, so placing a three strikes is wrong because you cannot have a number on your first letter. That is why the correct one is strikes 3. Okay, and then so write and print. Why is write and print wrong? Anyone? Anyone? Why is write and print wrong?
Kasi yung character, sir, yung end niya.
Okay. Okay, yung ampersand na ginamit niya. So you cannot use the end character. Okay, you can only use underscore and dollar sign. Okay. Now, how about switch? Bakit mali yung switch? Bakit incorrect yung switch niya?
Lowercase, sir.
Anyone?
Java keyword po kasi yung switch na small letter.
Bakit? Okay, very good. Because the switch with a small letter is a keyword. That is why nga, I encourage you, if you're going to name any identifier, always start with a capital letter to avoid conflict with keywords. Okay? Klaro ba tayo dyan? Kasi meron mga iba, hindi nila alam bakit sila nagkakaroon ng error sa variable name. Yun naman pala, kasi hindi nila alam what keyword pala yung ginagamit nila. Okay? Kasi sa sobrang dami ng mga keywords, you cannot memorize or identify all of them. Okay? So just to avoid conflicts, just write a capital, use capital letters on the first letter ng mga variables or identifiers nila. Okay? Klaro ba tayo doon? So moving on. Sige. So we have literal. So literal is a representation of value of a particular type. So for example here, yan. We have Boolean, character, integer, floating point, object, and cascading. So, okay. So these are literals. These are not data types pa. Okay. So, Boolean, ibig sabihin true or false. Characters, mga character. Integers, numbers. Floating point, pag may mga point. Objects is yung mga ano na. Objects is later on. I-discuss natin. Objects is yung pag gumagawa na tayo ng or pag nag-instantiate tayo ng mga subject ng mga class natin, we are actually creating an object. So that is an example. So later on na yun. And then we have escape sequence. Siguro nagamit niyo na to, yung mga new line, tabs, /n, /t, /b, and etc. Familiar na kayo dito. So variables and data types. Okay? So for this one, meron tayong so a variable is a name storage location used to represent data and can be changed while the program is running. Okay? So para sa okay, variables are like containers, di ba? So data types determines the values that a variable can contain. Again, programming 1. Okay? So you have to make sure that you that the variable that you set has the right data type kung ano yung ibibigay mo sa kanya na value. If kasi if di nagma-match yung container sa yung container tsaka yung ano yung nilalagay mo sa loob ng container, magkakaroon tayo ng problema nun. Okay? So, categories of data types na meron tayo, we have primitive data types and reference data types. So, those are the two types of data types na meron tayo with Java. Okay? So, for primitive data type, we have atomic values that are built on Java. So, these are all, we have actually 8. So, these are the 8 primitive data types na meron tayo. Okay? You have Boolean, char, byte, short, int, long, float, double. Okay? So, I think all of this are meron or the same na meron tayo with C++. The only new, the new here is yung short. Okay? I'm not sure if my short sa C++ or wala. Parang wala tang short sa C++. Okay? So, in Java meron tayong short. So, the only difference with bakit meron tayong mga data types is the number of memory na ginagamit nila. So for example, if you're going to the data type long consumes more memory than the data type short. So ibig sabihin, if you're going to create a program and then yung value lang naman na i-hold niya is mga something around 1 to 100 lang yung i-hold na value ng isang variable and then short na lang gamitin nyo para hindi kumain ng malaking data type. Okay? You also have to make sure with the yung sa range nila. Okay? Are you familiar with what happened yung sa sa YouTube? Okay? Baka hindi, sige, ito lang, kwento ko na lang. YouTube kasi is they created their YouTube sa views nila. Okay? Gumamit sila ng variable na int. integer yung ginamit nila. Now, the problem is, the limit of int is just until 2 trillion ata or 2 billion. Parang 2 trillion. Highest value ng int is 2 trillion. Okay? But, unfortunately, this is for the numbers of views, di ba? Numbers of views in YouTube, of a video in YouTube. The variable type na ginamit nila for the para sa number of views is integer. Now, the limit of that is nasa 2 trillion. Now, here comes a music video in YouTube na, are you familiar with Gangnam Style? Familiar ba kayo with Gangnam?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now,
Yes, sir.
Gangnam, if you're going to try to search sa YouTube yung ang video, ang views ng Gangnam, lumampas siya ng 2 billion or 2 billion or 2 trillion or lumampas siya sa dapat na range ng integer. So, nagkaroon ngayon ng problema ang software, ang YouTube mismo. So, they have to update their entire system kasi nga, they have to change kasi nga dahil lang doon sa range na yun. So, they have to change they have to change yung integer na yun into a long data type. So, dahil lang doon, medyo kailangan nilang baguhin ngayon yung system nila. Although, hindi naman siya ganun kahirap kasi syempre, papalitan mo lang yung integer into long. Pero, di nila na-foresee yung scenario na pwedeng mangyari yun. Okay? So, as a developer, you have to foresee kung aabot ba sa mga ganun yung mga ranges na mga ano yung magiging value ng mga variables and data types na meron kayo. Klaro? Klaro ba tayo doon? Hello guys, nandiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, klaro ba tayo dyan? Nakakasunod ba kayo? Or medyo mabilis ako masyado? Okay, sige. Silence means yes. So, let's proceed. So, next we have yung reference data or represent object. So, reference serves as a handle to the object that is a way to get the object. Okay? So, ito yung mga ginagamit natin para makakuha tayo ng mga object. Ways to get an object is to the use of 3. We have class, array, and interface. Yan lang. Okay? So for primitive, merong 8. Reference, may 3. Okay? So variable, declaring a variable with primitive data type. So, variable declaration tayo. So, medyo familiar na kayo dito. Madali na lang to. So, we have here example, int age equals 21. So, if you're going to break it down, first you have to choose the primitive data type na gagamitin ninyo. And then followed by the identifier name. Okay? Again, for the identifier name, I encourage use capital for the first letter. And then next is equal sign to assign its value. And then what is the initial value? Klaro ba tayo dito? So, kabisado niyo na to. Expert niyo na to, malamang. Okay? So, declaring variables is a reference naman this time ngayon. So, for reference, string name equals JSON. So, string is actually a reference data type. So take note, are you familiar with the difference between string and char? Char and string? Alam niyo naman yung difference? Alam bang difference ng dalawa?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Again, if you're going to get char, it will just get one character. For example, for JSON, it will just get the J. Now, if you want to get the entire string in JSON, then you have to use the data type string. Klaro, which is a reference data type. Hello guys, klaro ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so with that, and that ends our topic for today. So as a summary, Java source file can include a package, an import, and a class declaration in a folder. Main method is a start of execution of Java programs. Each Java statement is terminated by a semicolon. And then identifiers are case sensitive. Java keywords cannot be used as identifier. Each variable must be declared with a data type. And there are 8 primitive data types and 3 reference data types. Okay, so with this, I want to leave you with a quote. High thoughts must have high language, quoted by Aristophanes. Okay, so with that, are there any questions?